Hello dear students, in this lecture we are going to start unit number 3, short stories, and the first short story we are going to learn is Pali. This story is written by Bhisham Sahani. This story was originally written in Hindi language and it is translated from Hindi into English by the author himself. We should try to understand something about the author first. Name of the author is Bhisham Sahani. He is an Indian writer, playwright in Hindi, and an actor. Playwright means, the writer who writes dramas or plays. Natakar. So, Bhisham Sahani has written novels, short stories, and plays in Hindi language. He is a very famous Hindi writer from India, and he has also played his role as an actor also. Bhisham Sahani was born on 8 August 1915 at Rawalpindi in Punjab. He died on 11th July 2003 at Delhi. So he lived a long life of 87 years. His most famous novel is Tamas. Tamas means darkness or ignorance. Ignorance means ajna. It is a powerful and passionate account of the partition of India. Means theme of this novel is partition. As a writer, Bhisham Sahani has received prestigious awards like Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan for literature in 1998, and he has also got a Sahitya Academy Fellowship in 2002. You can find a lot of information about Bhisham Sahani on Google. I will provide you some links for his some links in order to understand his life and work or his biography in detail if you are interested. After learning something about the writer, we shall try to understand the characters in this story. The major character or the central character in the story is Pali. Pali is a short name for Yashpal, or you may call pet name. And Pali or Yashpal is a child of 4 years old when the story begins. The story is named after this character of Pali, and Pali may be called as the hero or the protagonist of this short story. Next character is Manohar Lal. He is Pali's father. Kaushalya, Pali's mother. Shakur, Pali's foster father, who adopts him when Pali is separated from his parents and he is left behind in Pakistan. He is found by Shakur, a Muslim, and Shakur takes Pali to his home, and then Shakur and his wife Zainab, they become his new parents. So Zainab is Shakur's wife, and Pali's foster mother. So Manohar Lal and Kaushalya are Pali's real parents, and Shakur and Jainab are Pali's foster foster parents, or uh, you know his new parents who adopt him as their son. Two more characters who are important in the story are Maulavi and Pandit. They are priests. Priest means pujari. So Maulavi is a Muslim priest who converts Pali from Hindu to Muslim religion and gives him a new name, Altaf, Muslim name. And Pandit is Hindu priest who converts uh, Pali or Altaf, now uh, to Hindu religion again, from Muslim to Hindu. Pali is converted from Muslim to Hindu again by this Pandit. So in this way, these seven characters are important characters in the story, and after learning about the characters in the story, we should try to understand something about partition, because partition is the backdrop or background of the story or theme of the story. So it is necessary to understand the history of Pakistan in short, history of partition in short. Uh, the partition of India, Pakistan is one of the most traumatic events, tragic events in the history of both the countries. The massacre that followed the event was barbaric. Massacre means killings of a large number of people at a time. In Marathi, you may say massacre means hatyakand. So during partition, many people were killed, and that hence the event or this partition is called as very barbaric event. Means it was very violent and cruel event. Many people died, many people were killed, and many people even suffered during and after the partition. The violence provoked by a handful of selfish and insensible people made um, Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs commit various inhuman crimes on each other. During partition, some of the selfish people, or you may call them insensible, or really, religiously fanatic people, they started this violence, and many uh, Hindu and Sikh people were killed by Muslims, and Muslims were killed by Hindu and Sikhs. So it was a very, you know, uh, inhuman and cruel situation happened during the time of partition. As the two countries were formed largely on the basis of religion, the people who were in minority in a region were forced to leave their homes and all their lifelong possessions. Yes. Before partition, India and Pakistan were one country, one whole country. And the region which we call today Pakistan, in that region, majority of Muslim people were living, and here in the region of India, majority of Hindu people were living. So what happened after partition, or during partition? Hindu people from Pakistan were forced to leave their homes and mm, migrate to India, and people, Muslim people from who were minority in Indian uh, territory or Indian region, they were forced. Muslim people were forced to leave Indian territory and to uh, go to Pakistan to live there forever. Uh, the partition resulted in creation of approximately 10 million refugees and at least 1 million deaths. Means due to partition, approximately 10 million people had to leave their homes or their country and go to live to new countries in the new country. So it created 10 million means 10 million means 1 million means 10 lakh. So 10 millions means 1 crore. Uh, Refugees were created means 10 million people had to leave their homes and go forever and had had to settle in the new region, had to start new life in the new country, and they had to face many difficulties at that time. And during this time, this tragic event, at least 1 million deaths happened. Means 1 million people died during the time of or at the time of partition or while migrating from one country to the another. The partition literature has very realistically portrayed the violence and the killings on both the sides. Partition literature means literature in which uh, the theme of partition is portrayed, or the events happened during the time of partition are described. That literature is called as partition literature, and this partition literature has portrayed very realistically the violence and the killings on both the sides, means in both the countries, in Pakistan as well as in India. While some writers have talked about the massacre during the refugee migration, others have written about the difficulties that people had to face during their rehabilitation in a new country. It means some of the writers wrote about the massacre, means the violence or the killings of the people, both the Hindu, Sikh, and Muslim. And some of the writers have uh, described realistically the difficulties faced by the people after partition when they went to other countries or the new countries to live there forever. It was very difficult for them to settle in the new region, to get adjusted with the new region. So those their problems and the difficulties are also described by the some of the writers in partition literature. You can see here some of the partition images when the people were migrating to other countries, and how these lorries were which were carrying these people, how they are crowded, how the people are running, and they were also um, um, this were sitting also on the top of the lorries because they were fearful of the deaths, people of both the religions. So these images talk much about the tragic situation or the problems of these people who were migrating from one country to the other. Before going to understand the story in detail, we shall try to understand what the story is about in short. During the mass migration, many children got separated from their parents during the time of or at the time of partition, when the people were migrating from one country to other country at that time. Many children got got lost or got separated from their parents in the crowd. Most of the children were killed by the angry rioters or the angry people of other religion. Most of the children were abducted, even abducted by the people of opposite religion and converted to other religion. So such children were left without any help and support from anyone. At that time, many women were also raped by the people of other religion. Some of the parents killed their own children or own daughters in fear of rape. So many such inhuman matters happened during this time. Pali is the story of such a child who, at the age of 4, gets lost during mass migration at the time of partition of India. The story deals with the trauma of the child who gets separated from his parents and falls into the hands of a childless Muslim couple and finally gets restored to his real parents again. And the story depicts the sufferings of both the child and his parents due to communal and religious fanaticism. So, in this story, we shall find the theme of partition at the center and the things happened due to partition, that is communal and religious fanaticism and its effect on the life of innocent people, innocent children or common people, women also, how they suffered a lot due to partition and how partition created a lifelong suffering in the life of these people. So, with this little bit introduction about the writer and history of partition and introduction to the story, we shall stop here and try to understand the story in detail in the next lecture. Uh, so